Welcome everyone to the Adversity to Advantage podcast. I know I'm excited at every podcast conversation, but today I'm extremely excited. We have got Mr. Jonny Benjamin with us today. He is the author of the book Stranger on the Bridge and took part in a documentary. I say took part, it was a pretty stressful time in his life that he has gone around the world campaigning about mental health and talking about his story. Welcome to the show, Jonny.
Thank you. Thank you so much for asking me. Thank you. I always see it on Instagram, it pops up and I love watching the videos, the little snippets that you do. So It's cool. It's really cool to be here.
Yes, cool. I'm so excited to have you. We've also done some work together, haven't we? So
Absolutely.
I've done some work in schools. We've done the Stranger on the Bridge documentary. So I've had the privilege of probably hearing your story almost as many times as you've told it. I don't know.
God, probably. But the thing is, we always kind of just bump into each other, and then it's just a very short. Like last week, we were together for 3 minutes,
yes.
And then I was arriving, you were leaving. That always happens.
Yes.
One of us is arriving, one of us is leaving. It just always. Do you know what I mean?
During different parts, we always have a good hug and we go,
yeah.
What is it? And we check in.
Absolutely.
But yeah, our schedules don't allow too much time spent together.
I know. Yeah.
And I've almost impersonated you at times. And then imagine if you were Jonny and I was on the bridge and, and then I weave in a bit of my story, which you know
Amazing.
about.
Yeah.
And it just gets this real authentic, open conversation going, which is beautiful. Which is
amazing. So you were at school last week, weren't you? Doing it in Cornwall.
Yes.
Which went really well.
I mean, I forgot how much I love the kids. The amount of sort of input, and you're 7, 8, 9, 10 putting their hands up, and some of them super knowledgeable about mental health, which I wouldn't have seen 3-4 years ago.
Amazing.
This real knowledge and awareness, not only of the illness, but of how to look after ourselves in general. So I felt really privileged.
Amazing. I feel that things are really changing in schools. Obviously, we've still got a long way to go, but what you just said, I mean, yeah, it's moving forwards. We're moving forwards, I think.
I think so too. So give our listeners a little bit of a clue on what's life like at the moment for you. I know you've been campaigning all over the place. What are you passionate about? What sort of excites you these days? So
my big thing is young people. We talked about young people. I love going into schools and colleges and universities and talking to young people. But my big thing is, the support is just not good enough. It's not good enough for all ages in this country, but particularly for young people. I'm so tired of hearing every time I go to another place, it's like, we can't get an appointment with CAMS, with the mental health team. We have to wait, or there's just cuts. It's all I hear is cuts, and that's so frustrating. So we've just set up a new charity, which is called Beyond Shame, Beyond Stigma, which is a grant-giving organisation, because we want to give back and we want to put funding in. I mean, I know it's not all about funding. But funding is and so this is why we set up the new charity, because we need to put the funding back into the services and the charities and the organisations that can't do the work that they want to do because they don't have the funding. So we're fundraising at the moment, and then we want to start giving out grants at the end of the year, which is really cool. So fingers crossed it kind of all works out. At the moment, it's moving forwards, but obviously we want to raise quite a bit of money so we can give quite a bit out. And I'm not very good at asking people for money, so
aren't you? But it's such a good cause, and people really buy into and believe what you're doing, not just because of your story, but because of the decade of campaigning work and visibility that you've given to this topic.
I mean, that's the thing. And just the topic of mental health, whenever I talk to someone about it, it's just, people are very much like, I just want to get involved. I don't care what if it's fundraising, if it's, giving actual kind of time. I just want to get involved in mental health. Mental health now seems to be something that people are really aware of and so passionate about. It's quite, and again, like you said, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been the case.
No.
Mental health is, but now, it seems to be really changing, which is great. Obviously, still a long way to go, but at least it's changing.
In workplaces as well, because I know you, like me, do lots of panel events and speak at sort of conferences and workplaces about employee mental health. And I know you're telling your story, but it's that different, like the interest is there as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. As long as, as long as it's not just a tick box, which sometimes happens, you go somewhere and it's just, you just, it's just a kind of tick box. But more and more I'm seeing that it's not a tick box, actually, that this is something they're really committed to. And it's not just a one-off talk where you just go in and that's it, actually. And it's, it's the staff that are driving it, different levels, all different levels. It's them that are really driving it, which is great. So yeah, no, things are, you must see it. I mean, things are changing.
Well, I still see there's inconsistency. So people want to be seen to be doing something. Some people know how to do that. Some people are ready to invest. Some people want to go full haul, and it's amazing to see the innovation that's taking place.
Yeah.
And there's the old school ones that are like, ooh, somebody's talking about this, or they can see on their absence statistics that more and more people are off work because of mental health. We've got the reports, thriving at work, all of that are kind of backing up those statements. Now, let me just remind people of the highlights or the lowlights of your story, so that people get a little bit of context. So how long ago was it that you were sort of at your rock bottom point?
So I'm 32 now. So when I was 20, that was when I was, rock bottom. So 12 years ago.
Yeah. Had a diagnosis and it sort of pushed you over the edge, so to speak.
Yeah. So I got my diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder when I was 20. And I mean, I was in hospital at the time and just given up. I was struggling as well with my sexuality and looking at, I come from a Jewish background, and that was a massive part of why essentially I ended up running away from the hospital and going to a bridge. Given up. There was no hope. I really didn't see things getting better. And that's what took me to the bridge, really.
And of course, you're with us, and you didn't jump. And of course, the story connected to the documentary is around the Find Mike campaign, which ended up being Neil who talked you down.
Absolutely.
And I guess I was always interested. We've got this striking rock bottom moment, and then the stories that I've heard in your subsequent talks or in conversations personally about the recovery journey afterwards. So it wasn't just the rock bottom, then you got the right treatment and you were chilled. It was like, I have to learn to manage this, accept, get the right medication, the right support. Like, give the listeners just a little bit of insight into that recovery journey, bearing in mind that you still have a diagnosis. And it goes on now, but what was that like?
I mean, it was hard. Not gonna lie, it was hard. People, it was hard. People often don't want to. When I speak to maybe like the media, it's very much like you had that rock bottom and now you're okay, and I'm like, no. I mean, it's an ongoing journey of wellness. But for me, I mean, it was you mentioned acceptance. Acceptance was a massive part of my journey, and it took years to accept and really begin talking, really talk, and a lot of therapy, finding the right medication, mindfulness has been a massive help to me. But it took I'd say about five or so years to really accept what was going on and finally start talking. And for me, talking actually is the best medicine.
Right.
I mean,
you started blogging.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I was in my mid-20s, as a way to communicate what was going on, I started making video blogs and putting them on YouTube. I wanted to connect to people. I wanted to talk. So I started making my video blogs, and that kind of led me on to when I was talking to other people online after making the video blogs and realizing how many other people out there struggle and have been through things, but also don't get the help and support they need. That's when I said, oh, I want to get involved in the world of mental health in some way. And I started working for different mental health organizations, and just kind of snowballed, really. And then obviously the Find Mike campaign, which kind of just took off, and then the documentary. So it's been a real interesting journey. But yeah, still ongoing. Every day is a learning day, really. And I'm always trying to learn, always trying to get more information of how I can help myself better. Always. Yeah.
Good growth mindset for sure.
Mm.
So I'm curious about lots of different avenues, right?
Mm.
And one is, we were talking about the workplace and telling our story. And I, as you know, a little bit about my story, when I was suicidal and depressed and, had a cult past and just couldn't accept my past, and it was affecting who I was. I isolated, so I pushed people away. I sat in the shame of it, didn't talk, which of course made things so much worse. So there's something so powerful that I just, radical honesty, I just live that way because I know it keeps me on a path of growth and good mental health and all those things. How has that evolved for you, that just putting yourself, so you've done the online blogging, you've done therapy, like how has just learning to accept and be yourself kind of changed maybe the way you are in the world?
Oh, massively. I mean, I think, again, for me, it was not just about my mental health, but it was about my sexuality for me, and actually for the people around me, was harder to deal with. As I don't know why. Maybe.
Tell us about that. So how old were you when you were like, I think I might be gay, or obviously we're in this Jewish structure that doesn't sort of believe in it or think about it. Like how did you come to terms?
Yeah, so I mean, I was 10. I think I was about 10 when the thoughts, started. I was like, there's an attraction there towards these guys, and what is going on, and then years and years of suppression because of my faith. And I used to go to a Jewish school, and we were told that being gay was a sin, and wow, I mean, what that did to me. So years and years and years and years of suppression, and then I came out about my mental health first. I don't know why. It was easier. I think, the whole, again, the sort of connection to religion. Mental health is more accepted now within the sort of Jewish community, mental health issues, but sexuality still is a big taboo. And so for me, coming out about my sexuality, it was harder because of the community I lived in. And it's still tricky. I mean, it's more accepting, some parts of the Jewish community, but then some parts are still very much like, this is a sin, absolute sin. So it was tough.
Come out to first?
My mum. Well, no, actually, my psychiatrist was trying to, and again, that was another reason I ran away to the bridge, because my psychiatrist in the hospital knew, obviously, I wasn't being honest about my sexuality. He was trying to pull it out of me, and I just couldn't deal with it. But eventually he did pull it out of me. And he said, you have to tell your parents. And I said, no way am I telling my parents, no way. But he pushed me to tell my parents, and I told my mum first. And it was difficult. Again, like I said, my family were more accepting about my mental health struggles than my sexuality. And so was I.
Shock to them?
Yeah, it was a big shock. I mean, the thing with me is I'd had girlfriends growing up, lots of different girlfriends, actually. So it was a big shock. It was a big shock. And I think now people are still more accepting. The people around me are still more accepting of my mental health struggles than my sexuality. It's such a, I mean, not just for the Jewish faith, obviously for lots of faith.
I like that.
Right, exactly. It's such a. I mean, look at, if you look at what's been happening in the news with the protests outside schools around LGBT plus education in primary schools. Look at the anger and the kind of the rage that sparked. There is still. I mean, we just had Gay Pride, this weekend in London, and the big celebration, but there's still a lot of homophobia out there. There really is. And I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get rid of it, really, because of religion. Not trying to criticize. Well,
Yeah, you
yeah.
can criticize that side of religion.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's important, to be honest, because I do worry about, when I go to faith schools. So I actually was talking to a friend the other day, and he'd given a talk at a faith school, and it was a Catholic school in North London, and he started talking about his sexuality, and he was interrupted in the middle of his talk, and the teacher came in and said, please don't talk about this. This is, we don't want the pupils to hear this. Please do not talk about this. And my friend walked out. He said, no, if I'm not allowed to say who I express myself, say who I am, I'm here to talk about my mental health, but my sexuality is. And the teacher was like, no. And so he walked out. I mean, that was last year, I think it was, in the school in North London. So it's still, it's still going on.
But you've got this parallel story. Obviously, it's the whole story because it's the whole you, but you've got accepting of your sexuality, communicating that. There's shame, there's stigma, there's taboos, like all this stuff about trying to accept who you are. And that affects our self-worth, right? Like if the people closest to me can't accept me, then do I accept myself? So you've got that. And then you've got the mental health thing that ends up getting traction just because of the documentary and all this stuff. And you start moving up in the world, shall we say, meeting, kind of rubbing shoulders with big important people, all as part of your story, right? How have you integrated those, or like what's dating been like, or just putting yourself out there that way?
Well, don't talk to me about dating. It's been it's interesting because there was as an example, a guy I met a couple of years ago. I met him actually in a nightclub, and we started talking, and then he decided to Google me. And when you Google my name, obviously my story's there for everyone to see. And it was interesting because that changed things when he found out my story. We didn't last very long because I just don't think he could accept.
Which part?
Kind of my mental health struggles. He couldn't accept. Yeah. I guess for him, he couldn't accept maybe if I was to have a relapse and become unwell. I mean, when I go on these dating sites, I don't know what it's like. I mean, in the gay community, when I go on these sites, so many people say in their profiles they're looking for someone that's sane and sorted. That's the term, sane and sorted.
Really?
Do you see that ever? People, yeah, and I'm not.
Guys don't want high maintenance women.
Right, yeah, but but I mean, with all,
like swipe left.
yeah. I see it all the time though. I mean, and I'm not sane and sorted. That's such a I just hate the term sane and sorted.
So do I, because that whole mental health continuum. You can be well and sane and and have a mental health diagnosis. And you can move up and down it depending on different things.
Exactly.
So I've seen you when you've been really well and sane and sorted for once. Yeah. And I know that sometimes you've had to back out of speaking gigs or arrangements because your mental health has been impacted, or you've said yes to many things and you've had to kind of balance things out. Do you feel, because I'm starting to get that as well, like I've got a video stuff out there, I've got my cult story, my website and all that sort of stuff, and I date, and they're like, can I follow you on Instagram? What's your this? What's your that? And I'm like, yeah, can I not tell you my surname for a little while? Just get to know me. It's a lot. I don't know.
But what stage do you then say, well, this is me?
Well, I've learned that I deserve someone who isn't intimidated by a woman who stands on stage and is open and I need somebody who is going to appreciate that about me.
Absolutely.
I mean, I do have the ability to go deep really quickly because I'm curious about people and kind of intoxicated by that because they don't have experience of people not talking about Love Island or some shit. I don't know. So I'm like, what are you deeply passionate about? I go quite deep. I think I've tested it because, as you know, I've been divorced for just over 2 years. So it's been new, the whole kind of dating scene. And I've definitely tested full blatant honesty and being a little bit more reserved. But ultimately, I've realized I have to be my full self. I can't put on masks. Like, I've done that for too long. And either you're drawn to that and we have chemistry, or you don't. But it can still feel disappointing when they just do that. Like, it sounds like you're saying, and Sorted Guy just backed off a bit, and you know that that's why, and you just want to shake them because you're a good person, right?
No, I know. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But, you know, I say to myself, it's not meant to be. It's not right. It's not right. It's just not right. It's not meant to be. I need someone that, yeah, like you say, is just fully accepting and embracing. Do you know what I mean? If I'm with someone that is, I was with a guy a few years ago, and everything was going so well, and then I had a panic attack. I had a panic attack on the street one day. I was talking to a group of people, and I just had this panic attack. And then afterwards, he laughed about it. He said, "You're so stupid. You know, why did you have a panic attack?" Like, and I was like, "Wow, we're not meant to be together. Like, we are not." I just knew straight away when he said that. It was all going so well, and you know, I told him my story. But when he said that, and he was a nurse as well, so when he said that, I just knew. Yeah, I'm not going to be with someone that is not accepting and compassionate and empathetic. I mean, it just wouldn't work, would it? It wouldn't work. I'd rather be alone for the rest of my life than with someone that, you know.
In moments like that, do you resent your mental illness, your diagnosis?
No, that's a good question. Initially, because I feel angry and hurt. But then afterwards, I'm like, no, actually, no, because at least I have, you know, the sensitivity that maybe, for example, the guy that said about the panic attack, he obviously doesn't have that sensitivity. So at least, no, I've got that sensitivity and that empathy that you don't have because of my experience. I always think like that, you know, that sensitivity and that ability to tune into, you know, other people. I mean, that's what my, you know, mental health diagnosis has given me, you know, and I'd really miss that if I didn't have my diagnosis. I mean, especially in the world that we live in today, I mean, that empathy is so important, and that ability. Well, you know, I mean, you know, particularly when you go into schools and talk to young people, and you know, young people might come up to you afterwards, and you know, you need that empathy, that sensitivity, that patience, that kindness. So it's a kind of gift. It's a gift.
What do you see any other gifts just from your diagnosis and your quite traumatic story in different parts? Along that journey of, you know, I know the journey, it's like anger, resentment, you know, all these sort of stages of grief when you realize, well, how's this going to affect me? You got to challenge your own stigma. You got to understand how to manage things, right?
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I think creativity, actually, there's definitely the gift of creativity. I mean, you know, like I write poetry, and I only started writing poetry when I was in hospital, you know, the first time, because I couldn't communicate what was going on any other way, other than poetry. So kind of the gift of creativity is a big one for me. Again, if I hadn't have gone through that experience, I wouldn't have the creativity that I have today. And creativity is really, really, really important for me. And I guess, you know, learning what I've learned about, you know, things like, you know, mindfulness, meditation, self-compassion, self-acceptance, I wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't been through this journey. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's the trauma, but you got to think of, the gifts that it's kind of given you. I mean, is that how you feel?
100%, but my God, it was a hard road getting there. A couple weeks ago, I not for this, but I interviewed my mother about her perspective on our childhood and her experience of it, which is huge. Like, I felt like I'd accepted myself and I'd done loads of things, but I still held this sliver of resentment towards putting 5 children into a situation where they didn't have education, and you think 10 steps ahead, and just all this stuff that I held on. And as a mother myself, I was just, it was just the last part in my heart that was just, you know, cold and just angry. And through alternative healing stuff, like I've been seeing, just to go rogue for a little minute, I've done a Reiki session. I've done some shamanic journeying alongside meditation and, chanting and all these sorts of things, just as an exploratory thing around the science behind energy and how that can affect us. And I really think it's that, you know, how the body never forgets. More than psychotherapy, which I've done lots of, and you're talking about creativity as well, it's allowed me to release the remnants in my body. And it allowed me to sit with her in full empathy for 2 hours and inquire about her perspective. I mean, it was a big deal for me.
Oh, that's huge. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I can't imagine doing that myself, to be honest. I just can't. Wow, it must bring up so much. I can't imagine what that was like.
And I think for 3 days afterwards, I felt sensitive. I felt tearful. I felt naked. I felt like I was releasing just these different things, because I finally saw for the first time that she's a victim. She was a victim too.
Sure.
And it wasn't a perpetrator by any stretch of the imagination. Was just a bit naive and was tearful. She was weeping as she realized what she deprived us of. Yeah, it was deep.
That's
and I know it was a really big learning thing for me. So through the podcast, actually, and as well as my work and understanding how other people deal with their adversities, I've just gone, what's the gift? It's allowed me this empathy. It's allowed me this authenticity. When I'm open about my story, it gives other people permission to be open about theirs.
Absolutely. But that, I have to say, that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of courage, I think. A lot of courage.
It felt like it. But I also, the main things that I talk about is that courage is a muscle that can be developed. And every day we do something courageous. Think of the stages we've spoken on, or that you've done loads of media stuff, or, you know, every time it takes a bit of courage to put ourselves out there. And I also think it takes courage to veer away from the sensationalist story that people buy you in for. Do you know what I mean? And currently, I've felt lonely on my entrepreneurial journey, or I feel challenges in this, like, that's what I try and keep connected to it, so it doesn't become this like little part of me over here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me anymore. I mean, do you ever feel when you do talks that they just want the sensationalist version of it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, when I look at, so, you know, I do talk a lot with Neil, the stranger on the bridge, and everyone wants this fairy tale, to hear this fairy tale. And I get it, because, you know, life's tough, and, you know, people want to hear positive, hopeful, inspiring stories. I get it. But for both of us, you know, it's been, there's been highs, but there's been lows in our journey together. And we've had, you know, difficulties in our relationship, but people don't want to hear that. People will just tell me the good stuff. But no, I feel it's really important to be honest. Really important to be honest about. And same with my kind of relapses. You know, people often say to me, you know, oh my God, it's so brave to talk about the relapses. But it would be so strange to kind of say everything is now great, and I don't have those. I just couldn't do it. It just wouldn't feel right. Have to be honest. But it's the same with the media. You know, when I talk to the media, they kind of want that 4-minute perfect story. You know, all wrapped up in a nice little bow. But that's not the way life is. Have to be honest and real and vulnerable. I've seen some, and this is going to sound really, I've seen some people give talks about their mental health journeys, which are, I went through this adversity, but now it's all perfect. And you can have this perfect kind of life too. And I mean, that's fine, but I think it's so important to be honest about that it's not just a smooth road. It's not just a smooth. I don't believe that anyone has a smooth road, and we need to be. I feel I need to be honest about the hardships as well.
Yeah, that's what one of the things that I appreciate about you is like, let's be real about what's going on. And of course, you guys more than other people are almost trapped in this, like the movie ending, and they lived happily ever after, and they campaigned forevermore, and they changed the world like this. Background music, and they go into the sunset, and
It's so true.
It's like marriage, though. It's like actually the reality after the end of the movie is the reality.
Exactly. And, we say that we had our honeymoon periods, but then we got on with real life. And, again, it's about being honest about that. Do you know what? I've watched a few movies. I saw a movie last night, actually. There's a movie out at the moment called Yesterday. I don't know if you've seen it advertised. It's a film by Danny Boyle, based on the songs of the Beatles, and I watched it yesterday. It's a really good film, but the ending is such a happy ending. It made me feel a bit sick. No, I mean just in the sense that it was just such a
cheesy, beautiful,
cheesy happy ending, and that's fine. But I don't know why I've just seen films that are just like, everything in the end is sorted and it's just happy. You follow in the film Yesterday, the very end, there's like a montage of their life, and it's all happy, and I'm just like, that's not real life though, is it? Not to be a downer, but
but I think once we reframe that and manage our expectations about like growth and opportunity, and that everything is here to develop us and allow us to be empathetic and connect, like I find that exciting. But you just don't sustain this one emotion of happiness, because that's all it is an emotion. And
Absolutely.
It's not like I try and chase fulfillment more than happiness. I feel like that creates the conditions where I'm more likely to feel happy more often.
Absolutely.
But it's a different way of going about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Fulfillment rather than happiness. Yeah,
I think so. So given that life isn't peachy and perfect, what are your biggest challenges at the moment, do you think?
That's a good one. I think biggest challenge is probably the work-life balance, to be honest. There's so much work to do in this space. There's so much work to do, and if I could, I would probably spend 24/7, working, because I'm just so passionate. But I realize I need to take breaks. I have to take time off. I have to take breaks, because I've learned the hard way. If I just keep going, just on a sort of hamster wheel, and I don't step off, ultimately I'm gonna break. And so now I'm trying to really rebalance things in my life. So it's not all, I go in sometimes, and I don't really realize I'm doing it. Well, I'm doing, last thing at night is an email in bed on my phone, and first thing in the morning is check my phone. Have I got a reply? And I don't know, I need to, readdress that work-life balance. Because, so Neil, for example, he says to me, he loves stress. He loves stress. He kind of thrives on stress and things like, that kind of work, like non-stop. And whereas I'm like, no, I don't thrive on stress, and actually stress does me more. What's that?
It's bad for you, or
it does more damage than so for me. And so now I'm very much trying to I say no to things, which I never used to do, because it's hard, because especially when you're so passionate about something and you want to help so many people. Every request that I was getting in, I was like, I'll do that.
Lots of requests.
Yeah, but even if it was at the detriment of my mental health, it's like, you need to put other people first. And now I'm finally saying to myself, no, I need to put myself first.
Do you think any of that came from your religious upbringing? Because I certainly recognize myself the other people before you as which is a beautiful value, but like from a real, like, that's how we live our lives. Otherwise it's selfish. Otherwise, I don't know.
No, you're absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Again, you know, going to a Jewish school, it was always very much like everyone else before yourself. And that was, yeah, just the kind of value of the faith school that I was in, everyone else before you. And yeah, it doesn't, well, for me, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
For most people.
No, absolutely.
Not forever anyway.
Yeah. I like the, you know, the oxygen mask analogy of when you're on the plane and they say, you know, if the oxygen masks come down, fit yours before you fit anyone else, even children, you have to fit yours first. And it makes sense because, and it's the same with just day-to-day life, you know, about putting yourself first before putting any, and it does feel selfish at first. Well, for me, it does. But I know it's the right thing to do. But it's taken me a while to get there. That's for sure.
What have you needed to put in place? Is it like blocking time out in your calendar? Is it changing your relationship to your phone? Like, what are the small things that you try and do to do that?
Yeah, so changing my relationship with my phone. For example, for me, I did something quite radical for me, which was turning off all my notifications on my phone. So, you know, I used to, every time I looked at my phone, I'd be at a meeting or be at a talk, and then I'd turn my phone on and all the notifications flashed up, you know, 390 emails, and you just, panic sets in. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to turn off all the notifications. And that's really kind of changed things. It's just a small thing, but I don't have the red, you know, little dot saying you've got all these messages, WhatsApps, emails, Facebook. Do you know what I mean? I've just, and it's made me feel stressed every time I look at my phone because I don't have that red dot there saying things like that. Things like getting out of. So I'm in London. I'm in central London, and getting out of the city. I mean, yeah, I'm realizing more and more that I'm actually not a city person. I'm actually more of a kind of country coast. I love the coast. I was saying to you before we started talking, you know, I love the beach. I love the sea. So, yeah, getting out of the city more and actually, you know, putting aside time, weekends, to say, right, I'm going to leave the city. I'm going to go out to the coast. I'm going to go into the countryside. Nature for me is well, for most people, I mean, it's kind of it's got natural healing about it. So yeah, putting those sorts of boundaries in place. I know I could do a lot more, and I need to put a lot more boundaries in place. But it's a start. It's a start for sure. And you've got to start somewhere.
Absolutely. So, and it's hard. It's hard when we're so conditioned to give out, but also when we see the impact that being authentic and real can have on people. So you have people probably messaging you all over social media, as well as after your talks coming up to you, as well as email, you know, parents of kids, you know, and your heart like goes out to people because you think when I show up, and it takes a lot to almost trust that if you're not there, the universe might put something else in their place for them, or somebody. There's so many mental health speakers. Our story doesn't have to be the only one that changes people's lives, right?
Exactly. No, this is it. And now I'm very much kind of, which is great because now we have this community and I'm able to say, well, I can't be there, but Petra can be there, or, you know, someone else can be there. Which is what I love about the community that we have, you know, the mental health sort of, circle that we have. Yeah, I'm able to say that now because at the very beginning I think I was like, and actually to be honest, I did that recently and I got a message back from, I won't say who they are, but they were like, no, we really want me to tell my story.
That hit an ego thing. Like sometimes if somebody goes, you were recommended to us by this person, and so I know the person personally, and they're like, we really want you, can you just, and I go, and I kind of have that, they want me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what did you say yes then at that point?
I'm probably similar to you because I've got these 13 kind of facilitators and speakers that are working alongside me, and I'm really trying. I don't always get it right because I like doing. It's a trust letting go thing. Because I know that if I do the first session, I know that people then want subsequent ones. can I trust my guys to do that? Will people want to? But when I've let my guys do it and just given them free reign, they've been amazing, and the feedback's been amazing, and all of that. It's
so
like
that must help you then to kind of be able to do that more in the future. Just pass it on, pass it on, pass it on.
That's what I'm working towards.
Absolutely.
It's not it's a work in progress, like you.
I know. It's hard. It's hard when people are so. This email that I got back a few weeks ago is very much like, no, it's you. It's your story. You're from the area, so you grew up in that area, so even more reason to kind of have you in. Yeah. So yeah, it's tough.
The thing that helps me though is visualizing where I want to be in the next year or 3 years. Like, who do I want to be speaking to? What's the impact I want to be having? And what time do I want to have for other things, such as writing a book and exploring the world and dating and kids? Like, how do I map out the future and how I want to feel about doing things? So, I've been doing some more kind of thought leader stuff and bigger stages. And I'm like, all right, in order to do that and have time to write the book, I have to say no to the free thing that my friend wants me to do, because I want to do it as a favor, but it's going to take 2 hours travel time. And do you know what I mean? And I can communicate that with kindness, with integrity, and possibly pass them on to someone else. As well as put some structures in place, like having a virtual assistant and an editor for the podcast. And what are the structures I need to put in place? Because it's also investing sometimes financially in getting support when you're out, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. The very beginning, again, it's the trust. So the very beginning, Neil was saying to me, we need someone in place, and I was very resistant because I was like, I want to manage everything myself. Can't let go of, I don't want to let go of things. What's that?
Why do you think that was? You don't want to let go of things, or you didn't?
I was worried about maybe missing something. That's the thing, missing an opportunity. What if that person that's there, again, missed an opportunity, or kind of let someone down, or maybe miscommunicated something, and all these kind of worries, fears, But putting someone in place to manage the diary was the best thing that kind of ever did, because it's just massive weight off my shoulders. That someone else can look after the diary, and I don't have to worry about that. And definitely a trust thing that took a while, I think, to really let go of. But yeah, having that person to manage my diary, I just wouldn't be able to cope without it now. I really wouldn't be able to cope. But yeah, it took a while, that's for sure. But now I'm so happy and confident that the person that we have is so capable of dealing with. Because again, mental health. Again, it's you've got to be sometimes sensitive when you're communicating with people, and so it had to be the right person. That had that sensitivity. But again, kind of that letting go was hard. But yeah, best thing I've done.
I think it's every phase that you get to, you've got to do a new learning process. You've had the skills to deal with the first bit, and then there's more work, and it's recognizing when you come to that point where you then have to ask yourself different questions and let go and trust people, and it enables you to get to the next level.
So true.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, so true. It's so true. I've had to do, actually looking back, reflecting on it, I've had to do quite a lot of
I'm sure you have.
just thinking about the documentary. It's kind of my story, the most traumatic experience of my life, and put it into the hands of the filmmakers, and even or letting it out there into the world. So I remember when I had to go on breakfast TV and do loads of media, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Because I'm just putting this out there into the world, and what is, anyone could, especially again in the world that we live in with social media, anyone can comment, or what people are going to say, what people are going to think. I felt really exposed, and I had to sort of suddenly put lots of trust in other people to tell my story in a way that I was happy with, and that takes, I think, a lot of trust. But again, it's learning. Yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, just all those fears that, you know, they're not going to do it right, or I'm not going to be happy with it, or they never seem to happen for me, you know, never seem to happen.
Well, and I think when we're prone to mental health issues, we do have a busier mind, right? We overthink things, we have self-doubt. And I mean, that's a human condition as well, but I feel like it's sometimes just 10 times faster in my mind.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's the
self-doubt. I'm like 22, you know? And this thing of control, like I never saw myself as a controlling person ever. I was a victim. I'm not controlling.
Yeah.
Our response, right? Just something we can't control is to try in every way that we can, in the places that we can control, to control. And it was a revelation in therapy for me to be like, what are you trying to say? Like, I've been with manipulative people. Trying to say, I also which was pretty powerful, because then I thought, oh, what is it like? Let me test, just letting go physically, mentally, waiting, patience. Oh my God, patience.
Yeah, you're right. When did you start? When was that point when you started letting go of control? And
well, I think I was in survival mode for a good 10 years, getting an education, building up, you know, raising kids, doing everything at once, which was just like survive. And I think when I got divorced, which was my choice and was me being empowered, probably for the first time, it felt like I was actually leaving the cult. I was leaving, you know, so that felt like an empowered choice. And then suddenly imagine living in communes and then with your own family for your entire life.
Yeah.
I'm in a flat by myself. My kids are 50% at their dad, so 50% of the time I'm by myself, sitting with myself, right? Then trying to build a business and date and have relationships and figure so this is like the last 2 years. And then working on myself and thinking, actually I'm trying to control, because I started getting physical symptoms of stress, like palpitations, my skin was breaking out, like I was not enjoying the journey, but I'd fought so hard to get here.
Yeah.
And there's something about, sometimes it's in peacetime that all the shit comes up, you know? It's like when we're in survival mode, it's just like adrenaline. And then I'm like, I've got my own flat, life is good, my kids are good, doing work that fulfills me. And now all this stuff's coming up, like it doesn't make sense. Am I a bad person, you know?
I understand completely. You're right. I mean, the adrenaline, it keeps you going in that survival mode. I mean, for me, yeah, like, you know, growing up in my teens, it was just constant having to hide, mask. You're constantly kind of, I had to be so careful about, you know,
to cover things up.
Oh my gosh, like, you know, even like self-harm, you know, you got to be so careful of what you're wearing, and you know, if a sleeve slips, and oh my God, are they going to see that? Everything you have to be so careful about. And again, with my sexuality, oh my gosh, I was so.
Don't look at a guy too long.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously, I was so self-conscious of not appearing gay, and so it's just constant adrenaline. And then finally, when you don't have to do that anymore, it's interesting. It's interesting.
How exhausting it's been to keep up that facade, but it's like, at least we're certain about the tools, even though they were debilitating or they were masks. At least I knew the game I was playing, and then I got to learn totally different tools. I'm like, I don't know the rules to this thing. I'm trying to be authentic, but I'm like, what is that even? Who am I? Like, who is authentic? How do I feel my way in the dark, right?
Right. It's tough. And there's no kind of manual or guide or, it's so hard. And again, it kind of frustrates me with like the system that we're in, the mental health system in particular. You know, everyone just fits into a box, but we're all, everyone I speak to in terms of, you know, their mental health, the journeys are so personal, so individual. No journey is the same when it comes to, you know, mental health recovery. And yet I often find when I talk to clinicians, you know, it's just, everyone with schizophrenia is the same, need to take this medication, do this. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no. It's all, everyone's got such different journeys. I think sometimes, particularly like, the system just doesn't get that, appreciate that. you know, doesn't make it easy to have those, very individual journeys, you know. That's the shame.
Sometimes make it worse if someone doesn't
Yeah,
feel accepted, even with the diagnosis, because they feel they should be presenting in a particular way.
I know. I
And I
know.
think there's clinicians who've lost the ability to have, compassion fatigue, that they just aren't experiencing the empathy because they've put a wall up from their own story, connected to, I guess, the amount of stories. Like I'm a counselor, and I'm not in that scene very much because it doesn't quite sit well with me.
Sure. No, sure. I mean, you know, trying to do work with like the NHS and particularly, you know, mental health teams, mental health crisis teams. I see a lot of broken people working in the NHS, to be honest. And I understand. I'm not surprised. When I did my first ever meditation retreat a few years ago, I think I was the only NHS person there. It was all people who were just completely burnt out. You know, nurses, doctors who were just so burnt out. As you say, that compassion fatigue. I mean, but it was amazing actually watching them transform in just a few days. You know, with learning about, you know, the meditation techniques, or, you know, things like self-acceptance and self-forgiveness and compassion. It was amazing watching people transform. But I did, that one bothers me whenever I go and do work with the NHS. I just feel there's so much that needs to be done. So much that needs to be done. So much that needs to change.
You're right that it doesn't actually take much. Like when I work in schools with teachers and head teachers, there's a lot of burnout in those environments as well, isn't there? But if you can just go beneath the core of what brought them to those professions. So often the nurses, the NHS staff, they had a core experience themselves or a driver to get in these things. And it's like, let's just remember that for a minute. Let's connect.
I know.
You know, and begin to build from that place. And then people feel hope, team, you know, like we're doing something meaningful and purposeful here.
But I think, the trouble is, you know, again, with schools, with the NHS, everything's so focused on things like targets and paperwork. And I think, I feel that's just, this is lots of work, lots of change that's needed, lots of change. I think lots of change. I think there needs to be a kind of revolution in terms of the systems that we're in. I mean, they're not working.
The world is changing with technology, the amount that we're on with, you know, and I think that's affecting people's mental health as well.
Massively.
We could just go political and just have a whole discussion there, but maybe we should.
Don't get me started. Do not get me started. Seriously.
We haven't got enough time.
I know.
Do you still get nervous before speaking?
Sometimes, Sometimes. I think it depends on the crowd. I think the people that I want to impact the most, I get the most nervous. So when I go into like prisons, for example, or when I want to kind of be accepted the most, or do you know what I mean? That's when so in prisons, you know, when I go into prisons and talk to, quite often these kind of, they walk in and they look, you know, very tough men, and, you know, they've been through, and sitting there, they're all sitting there looking at you, and I think I just want to get through. I want to make a difference. That's when I feel the most. Or again, sometimes in schools, when I really want to get through to these pupils, that's what, I don't know. That's when I feel the most nervous. Interestingly,
it matters. You want to get it right.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to leave them with something. You know. What about you? Where do you still get nervous?
Of course, yeah. And I realize that's okay. I might always get nervous. That's just. There's this comedian called Russell Kane. He's hilarious. I've seen him live. He just cracks the life out of me. And he said in some interview, he went, every single time I will either vomit, or I can't get off the loo, or I will just be like, my body just goes into some kind of meltdown, and then I kill it in the adrenaline and pumping it out. And I was like, oh, it's fine. It's not the absence of nerves.
You're absolutely right. I was reading actually an interview with Adele. Okay. And she said a similar thing about, you know, the nerves before and being sick before, and yeah, it's kind of reassuring, reassuring to,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, these, like, you know, someone like Adele or Russell Kane, you know, they've got such talent and,
Yeah.
you know, they can just go out there and blow everyone away, but they have, beforehand, they have these sort of crippling nerves. And yeah, it made me, well, yeah, it makes me feel really reassured, actually. Because yeah, no, nerves are good, actually. Nerves are good.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it feels uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but you know, I remember the first few times I started talking, you know, I remember my voice was shaking and I could hear it and feel it, and the heart beating so kind of hard and fast. But I was like, that just shows that you're human, and you know, instead of beating myself up about it, I'm just like, no, that communicates that you're human, rather than being, again, like I was saying before, and I'm not trying to criticize, but you know, sometimes I watch, and this is a kind of
Speakers.
what's that? Polished speakers.
Yeah.
Often is maybe American. I don't know. I'm not trying to, but and I just watch them, and it is so polished and so yeah. And there's sometimes something missing, and I guess it's that vulnerability, that humanness, that. So no, I mean, yeah, nerves are good. Nerves are good. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but.
And I think otherwise we can get detached from our story, and our story is emotional. And so I want to be connected to it in some way.
Absolutely.
What about what I refer to as vulnerability hangovers? So the day after, if you felt like you really gave yourself, or you felt like you made that one mistake, or you felt like you had that one negative feedback, or even if it was amazing, like that you can build up adrenaline and have some kind of crash. Does that resonate with you at all?
It does, but I have to say, for me, it's got easier.
Okay.
I think over the years, but the more that I've done it, the more, yeah. Because again, at the very beginning, it was like, you know, I didn't say that, or I missed out this, or I didn't get there was some sort of feedback that wasn't great, and yeah, it used to really bug me, but now it's very much like, did the best I could, and you know, again, it's just, there's no point sort of beating myself up or dwelling on it really, because you know, you just drive yourself crazy with that. You know, I should have done this, I shouldn't have said that, I wish I hadn't got that feedback, I wish I'd done this. You can just, you know, so now I think, yeah, with practice, I don't beat myself up, and again, with practice, I've learned that, because again, in the early days, it was very much like rushing from talk to talk to talk to talk, and having no sort of breathing space in between. And now actually, you know, if I give a talk somewhere, maybe it's a beautiful part of the country I've never been to before, I'll actually maybe want to take some time out to see it. You know, I'm so lucky I get to go to all these places, and I find it a shame that I go to a place and, you know, I just go and see a conference center, or, you know, one building there. And so I'm like, no, I want to experience the place and the community. And so I'm trying to sort of build that in, especially after the talk, when, you know, instead of just, and I know sometimes it has to happen, you know, you have to just get straight on a train, you know, you just have to go, but trying to do that less now, trying to actually build in some time to not rush.
That. So slowing down and actually enjoying the journey, and using the opportunities that present themselves to enjoy, rather than needing to reinvent the wheel. Yes, longer breaks are nice, but they're not always possible all the time.
Sure.
How do we incorporate? That's what in every teaching that I do, it's like, how do you incorporate these small things into your day-to-day routine, rather than going, oh my God, I'm never going to plan this thing, and, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But again, it's taken some time to kind of realize, and you learn lessons, don't you? You just learn lessons. You learn lessons. I mean, I learned some, you know, there was a particular period of in the last few years when it was just literally running from one talk to the other, and just exhausted, absolutely exhausted. And I just got to a point where I was like, I just can't do this anymore. It's just
burning yourself out.
Yeah, and but I had to get to that point though to sort of realize that I needed to change things. You know, I have to get to that point because it was affecting me. It was affecting my relationships. You know, and when it starts affecting, particularly relationships, I was like, and other people were saying to me as well, Johnny, like, you need to slow down. You need to, and I was like, no, because I liked the whole thing of, yeah, I'm so busy. Oh yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Do you know what I mean? I liked it when people said to me, oh my God, you're so busy. Do you know, I don't know why we've got this thing, don't we? I think in society where, and I'm so guilty of it, you know, if people say, you know, how are you? It's like, yeah, I'm just so, it's as if it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah, a sign of doing well. If you're
yeah, absolutely.
In the next 10 years, 10, 20 years.
What's that?
I think it's going to change in the next 20 years as the world of work changes, that it will be aspirational to say, you know, oh, I went to this meditation retreat, or I only worked 3 hours today, and everything's ticking along. And, you know,
I hope it does.
Yeah.
Because I notice whenever I say, you know, I'm so busy, the other person, oh my God, I'm so busy as well. And it's like almost like a kind of competition, not competition, well, maybe kind of underneath it is a bit of a like, I don't know. It needs to change again. It needs to change. And I hope it does. I hope it does.
It perpetuates this idea that we need to always be on, and if we're not enough, or we're not going to have enough edge or enough income, or, you know, be enough in the world. And ultimately it's affecting our mental health. That's the statistics don't lie, right? More and more of us are affected by burnout and mental health issues and all sorts of things. So things have got to change.
Well, I think, you know, we could be the sort of, well, we have to be the leaders of that, and kind of, reflecting on, you know, what you said about.
You say that's different from this day forward. When someone says how, your automatic reaction is to say I'm busy. What's a different sentence that you can use?
Well, actually, no, what you said about, this weekend I went and I took some time out. I had an amazing time in the countryside, and I 2 days off, and things like that, I'm busy, but, you know, I went and I did a meditation session last night, and or I went to bed really early last night and had a really great sleep. I mean, when have I ever said that to anyone? You know, so I'm gonna start changing that. No, seriously, and I think for everyone though. No, seriously. I mean, I know Neil does it because I work a lot with Neil, and, you know, oh mate, I'm so busy. Oh my God, it's just so busy. It's just crazy, and it's just and that's often like, it's not like it's funny. That's the first thing we say to each other. You know, it's about the busyness. It's not about, I had a lovely weekend with my wife, with my baby. Like, it's just like
taking over the I'm fine thing.
Yeah, you're so right.
I'm fine. How are you? I'm busy. Like, it feels like it's almost taken that over.
I think we need a new campaign.
We need,
seriously,
quite a few. You've done quite a few campaigns.
Wow, this one though, I like it.
Yeah, what could it be? Connected, not busy, or something. But I don't know. I mean, because I like being busy, but I like it when it's got the balance of like active recovery. Like, I did this kickboxing class, and I'm like, oh, I spent, you know, looking after myself, and it was a new skill, and I was the worst one in the room, and that was exciting, and I learned. There were like black belts in the room. I was like, whoa, where am I?
Wow. But that's so cool, because like when we started talking today, you know, one of the first things probably the first thing that you said was about what you did the weekend and this class, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And I mean, it was great to hear that, actually, and then it made me reflect on myself. Oh, you know, what have I done that's been really great and fulfilling? Just being so busy with, and then obviously when we went into the busyness of last week, and but the point is, you know, that's really interesting. I'm gonna
show where I'm learning myself to have a full life that is fulfilling and builds my skills in ways that aren't just, you know, one path. mental health expertise, whatever. I'm glad that I'm seen as an expert and being well known in that field as you are. And I want to be like, well, how can I explore? You know, I went to this Reiki session and I wouldn't normally do that, but it was super deep and it made me think this. And it's like the growth path.
Yeah.
So, Jonny, we've been going on for ages. I feel like we could talk for ages, and I feel like I'll have to have you back on again once we have
definitely
sorted and more political about how to not be busy or to say other things. I know you have a book out recently.
Yeah.
So it is called Stranger on the Bridge, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is indeed. Yeah. Still talking about that. Yeah. No, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
It's exciting. Yeah. Where can people find it anywhere?
You can find it online on like Amazon. And then currently writing my next book, which you're part of.
Yes, of course.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell people about the book coming up.
Yeah, so that's going to be called like the Book of Hope. And it's stories of overcoming, you know, the adversity, finding hope, because often I find that hope is really lacking in particularly, and again, the mental health system. You know, when I go into NHS, the mental health services, and talk to people, whether that be the staff or the, you know, patients, hope is so often lacking. So this book is going to be a collection of people like yourself writing about how they found hope. I think just this day and age, it's lacking, I think. So we're writing that at the moment.
Beautiful. And I love the concept just because it's sort of, you can dip in and out and get a story, feel inspired.
Absolutely.
Just about quite a range of different stories, but what is it about humans, and very much along the theme of the podcast, like what is it that people move on to in order to begin to shift things, and what are the steps after the rock bottom kind of hero bit that's like, then what do we do?
Yeah, absolutely.
People need to know that it's not just an overnight. Some people have it and some people don't. Jonny, there's something special about you. You turned your life around, you know, and you are special. I love you. But but you put the work in, and you failed, and you struggled, and you kept standing up, and you kept asking for help, and you know, that's the journey.
I think like what you mentioned the word before, patience. I think patience is so key, because I speak to so many people who, you know, say that, you know, that they and I wanted something that was overnight. You know, well, of course, you want this pain to just end and suffering just to stop, but it doesn't. Unfortunately, you know, I don't know anyone that's just managed to just suddenly turn their life around, and I don't maybe believe that if they'd said that, maybe just all those years and years and years of, you know, adversity, you can't suddenly just change it. It takes time, and it takes work, and it takes patience, and I think a lot of self-compassion, but people don't often tell you that. I think you just you have to learn it for yourself. I had to learn it for myself.
But the more we can have these conversations, the more I'm hoping, and with your book and the conversation, that people can understand that and feel like if they're in the thick of it and it feels like progress is so slow and sludge, that's normal, that's okay.
Exactly.
One step forward, connect, be open, right? Yeah, I know you're working on so many different things, and people can follow you on Instagram. Who are you on Instagram, Mr. Jonny Benjamin?
Yeah, Mr. Jonny Benjamin,
Benjamin. And so they can connect to you. What advice would you give to people, just to finish off, who might be in the thick of that struggle now? Like what are the first 2-3 things that they can do to move their lives forward?
Well, and I know this sounds simple, but the talking is so key. But again, it takes time, it takes practice, and it takes, I mean, you know, I'm still in therapy, and, you know, new stuff will come up all the time, do you know what I mean? Or stuff that suddenly we uncover, that it's just constant talking. So the talking and the communication is so key. And for me, that was right at the beginning. It was writing. It was just writing. Like I said, writing poetry or just writing. I just had to write. I had to write anything, and that's. I think that's still a form of communication, even if you're just writing. You know, but the point is just not just keeping it contained in here, just getting it out some way. The talking is so important, and I guess that links to, you know, not feeling embarrassment and shame. And again, that's it doesn't happen overnight. You know, that's the thing. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes work. It takes work, but I think that for me was hearing, don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed. That was a key kind of that was something I needed to hear when I was at my worst. Don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed, because that embarrassment, that shame, just it destroys you, absolutely destroys you. So try not to, or know that will change. I think know that horrid sense of shame and embarrassment won't last. It will change, even if you think it won't. And then I guess find your people. I think that's been key. It's finding other people who have been through similar experiences, or it doesn't even have to be exactly the same, exactly similar. Just find other people that are open. And for me, going to support groups, I think was at the beginning was really, really, really helpful. Just sitting, I know it sounds kind of Hollywood, like sitting around in a circle and everyone, but for me that really, really, really helped. I was so nervous, and people so often, I was so nervous, and I put off going, but I finally went, and I sat there and I didn't say anything in the group, but I just listened to other people share their experiences, and that was life-changing. Hearing other people put into words what's going on in my head is such a relief. So trying to find support groups, and there's so many out there now, support groups or other people online that are sharing their stories. For me, that's been key. That was key. So, and I wish I'd have done it earlier. I just put it off. I wish I'd have done that earlier. So that'd be my...
Amazing. Yeah. So get out there, talk, express yourself. And sometimes we have to do the talking while the shame feeling is still there, but trusting, as you said, that over time that dissipates and you begin to connect deeper, and it's the skill that can be practiced. And you're not the only one. Like,
absolutely,
everyone's got a story, and people out there listening as well as talking is just the thing that normalizes it.
Yeah, absolutely. There
are ways out. There are steps that take. Jonny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fun.
Yeah, thank you. It feels like it feels like it's gone so quick. But how long have we been talking?
Yeah, we've talked almost an hour and a half. We just jumped right in.
Wow, that's amazing. It literally has felt like that. It's amazing.
It's really good. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
No, thank you.